Okay, guys, we're going live. This is Jake Robinson with Amazon Hangout Live. I was sitting there talking up a storm. You guys didn't hear a word I said, did you? um, anyway, Sam is having problems logging in, and he rebooted his laptop. And so I delayed the actual start of the broadcast, but I saw you guys in the room, so I figured you could hear me. Can you guys hear me now? I'm going to check with. Maybe I've got a problem with my microphone. Let me double check and see if I've got my set. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. It was on default. Guys, can you guys hear me now? Orlando, Florida's in the room. Okay. Saj says he can hear me. Hi from sunny Saigon. Awesome. Okay, everybody's saying yes, 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 yes. Okay. Okay, so here's what happened, guys. I was having a chat by myself for the last 10 minutes. Uh, I was trying to get Sam Cohen on the line. He's trying to get in here right now. He had a technical support issue and a technical error issue, I guess. He's trying to get his laptop to log in, and it's giving him issues. So I saw you guys in the room, so I decided, well, I'm just sit here and chat and do some announcements. I did run the two polls. The two poll, excuse me. The first poll was somebody had made the suggestion that maybe one session that we do is have no guest and just do a Q&A session. Let everybody ask any question they want. That means I have to answer them all unless somebody can come on and and answer them in the chat. Or I have the ability, if you do log in through your Gmail address, if you register with a Gmail address, I can bring you online live in the room like you're my guest and bring people in and out that want to ask and answer questions. The other way to do it is maybe have 3 or 4 of our past guests to come on as a panel discussion and still do a Q&A, but we'd have 4 or 5 people who could answer it, and you might get 3 or 4 different answers, and then you have a little bit more input feedback. 60% of the people said yes, they would. I'm going to end the poll on a session with no guest, and 77% of people said let's do a session with no guest. So how does that work? If 77% of you said yes, let's do one with no guests, but 60% said let's do it with guests, some of you guys must have changed your mind. Or maybe we'll just have to do both. We'll have to have a session with no guests and one with guests, and that might be the off sessions because sometimes it's I can't always nail down a guest. It's not easy bringing the best sellers on Amazon onto a live webinar like this where our schedules match up, and so sometimes we went 2 weeks without a webinar. So anyway, Brendan, you're not hearing anything. Are you guys hearing me now or not? Sam says, can you hear me? Well, I can't hear you, Sam, because you are not on the webinar, dude. Okay. Lewis says, yes, you're good. Hear you loud and clear, says Shannon. Okay, I'm assuming you guys. Yo, Jake. Okay, great. So we had people from Texas, people from California, New Jersey, Florida, and I think somebody said from sunny Saigon. If that's the case, then you get our prize for the furthest person away right now, Liz from sunny Saigon. Is that Saigon like over there, or Saigon like a city in one of the states? Okay, Sam, is that you? Is that wait a minute? Wait a minute, Sam. Oh, wait a minute, Sam. Is that you that says let's get this party started? Hold on. I'm going to invite you in as a speaker. Maybe see this what happens. I just sent you an invitation, Sam. Let me see if I can find you again. Okay. Uh, Sam, I can't hear you. You may have logged in as just a. All right, Sam. I clicked on a tab here that should give you the ability to log in as a guest. Ah, I think that's you. Okay, so we did it the back doorway, Sam.
Sorry, guys.
When I saw you say, "Let's get this party started," I thought you was just another person that wanted to get this thing going on. But you must have logged into the webinar as an attendee and not as an admin. But I've got a way to bring you on board, so that got around that problem. Okay, so actually, what happened, Sam? I was vamping for about 10 minutes. Nobody could hear what I was saying. They could see my lips moving, and I did a few polls while we were waiting on you. But I just went ahead and launched at 8:10, so it's only about 5 minutes in, and I think people will forgive us for starting a little late. So again, I'm Jake Robinson with Amazon Hangout Live. This is our weekly webinars where we invite successful sellers to come be a featured guest, and we ask questions. And I act like an investigative reporter. Sam, I don't know if I told you that. I like to ask questions. And so we have the great Sam E. Cohen. I've never met you before, Sam, but I've seen you on the Facebook groups, and everybody that ever talks about you says great things, except for that one time where you posted something in one group about some, I don't forget, it was a service or course or something, and they accused you of trying just to be a hyped up marketing guru guy trying to make a buck. And I thought, that's not Sam Cohen. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. It was April 11th, 2015. Uh,
No, no, no.
that's
No. What I'm saying is some guy accused you of just wanting to make money and not helping people, and I thought that's not true. I watched you go back and forth a couple times, and you took the high road. But what you're saying is in 2011 you actually did start making money with Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think I was called Bernie Madoff at that time. Um, I was called a lot worse. Anyway, yeah, we started Amazon in March of 2011, and it was just me, myself, and I. And I started shipping. I learned how to do it, and I started shipping DVDs, merchant fulfilled. And then about 6 months later, I finally figured out how to do FBA, and that's when business really took off. We went from doing about 25,000 a month to 100,000 a month overnight.
Oh
It
my gosh.
was October 2011. My wife, who I was dating at the time, came to work with me, and between her and FBA, my business really took on a life of its own. We ended up moving warehouses three different times in the last 3 years because we kept outgrowing the space. And now we're about to sign a new warehouse lease, God willing, on Tuesday, which is going to be a 20,000 square foot warehouse. And it's going to be an entire building. So it's going to be awesome.
So can you back up before 2011, because you said you had like 20 years in e-commerce, so uh, you're not a rookie when it comes to selling online. What were you doing before Amazon?
So, are you able to hear me, by the way?
Well, you're going in and out. Do you have a headset, or are you using the mic on your laptop?
I'm using the mic on my laptop, but I have a couple of small children that are sleeping. So I'm trying not to shout. Is that better?
Well, I don't think it's your voice. Your voice is very loud sometimes, but it's like it's muting the or squelching it. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's Rob says it's cutting in and out, and that's what I'm thinking. But do you have a headset that has a mic on it
Yeah, give me a
where it's
second.
so okay? Greg says applause. Okay, guys, we'll get this thing figured out in a second here. Eric Frun said he's from the Chicago area. Ian from Singapore. Oh, awesome. Ash from London. Ash, do you know Saj? Australia, dude, we got them all over the world tonight. It's a world, and then Oklahoma, right in the center of the U.S. Okay, yeah, he's got some young kids, so he has to see if he can do this without waking them up. So, okay, Wayne says no, he misunderstood my poll. So, yeah, that's what we meant. So I'll probably wind up doing 2 sessions. We'll do one with a Q&A with a panel discussion with some past guests, and then we'll do one with no guests, and you guys will be the guests. And if you guys start racking up your questions for Sam, no, he's not ticked off, Eric. He's just Ireland. All right. Ireland. Yeah. All right. Are you there, Sam?
I'm here. Is that better?
I will have to see. Well, we got people from all over the world right now. We got Australia. We've got Saigon. We've got Singapore. We've got London, England. We've got some other places, Ireland. So we've got folks, and then folks all over the U.S. All right. Yeah. So go ahead, Sam, and tell us what were you doing, and we'll see if your audio's fixed. Or what were you doing before 2011?
So before 2011, I was working. I've done e-commerce for about 20 years. I would say close to 20 years now. We had computer stores in Manhattan. And are you able to hear me, Jake?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay. We had computer stores in Manhattan in the 90s. And at some point, sales just came to a grinding halt. We were trying to figure out where all the customers went. And, one of my bosses asked me, "Where's all the customers?" I said, "Well, they're all going to the internet and they're buying on the internet." And this was around 1997, 98. And, all the computer companies started selling direct to the end user. So we opened a website. It was one of the first e-commerce websites. And we were doing crazy business, selling electronics and computers over the internet, and we were doing so much business. And then we realized after fourth quarter, we made a lot of money, and we kept doing it. We kept doing it. By the next year, the entire business had changed from where you were paying a flat fee to advertise with AOL and any of the other big players at the time, CNET. They changed their business model to where it was cost per click. So we started getting, tens of thousands of dollars worth of clicks for people to come to our website. So there used to be price comparison websites like CNET and MySimon and Price Grabber and Price Scan. And what happened was people were so excited to buy things on the internet that they clicked through to every single merchant. And the following Christmas, while we were doing crazy business, we were doing about $1 million a week in sales. We realized afterwards, with all the advertising and the salespeople and the warehouse people, we weren't really making money. So we tried to scale it down a little bit, and it just wasn't the right business model, pay per click and having a website and everything. So after that, I got into, I was still doing eBay on a very large scale. When digital cameras came out, we were doing a ton of business. And I bought my first house in New Jersey. And then right before Christmas, eBay suspended me. And it was, I don't know what the reason was till today. I think there was a digital camera that had an optional accessory, and we copied and pasted the information from Olympus's website, and eBay suspended us, and we had a couple $100,000 worth of merchandise, and we owed people money, so we just gave everybody the merchandise, and we just said, we can't run a business like this where they could just shut you down at the drop of a dime. And this was probably 2001. After that, I did a lot of e-commerce for big companies. I worked for a large electronics manufacturer called Haier America. They're a huge company, Haier. They make TVs and refrigerators. And
They make dehumidifiers too, because I've got one.
Exactly. So we used to sell those to all the big retailers, and then I was in charge of selling them to the end user. So I built a website, and we were doing very well. The profit margins were great. The volume was great. And what happened was the crash of about 2008, 2009 came in, the economic recession, and the parent Chinese conglomerate, which is worth about $20 billion, decided that anyone who's making six figures either has to take a drastic pay cut or has to be let go. So it was through no fault of my own. My department was doing great, but it was just a company-wide decision, and that's why I hate corporate America. No, anyway, so at that point, I started hustling. I was doing flea markets. I was doing street fairs. I was buying from my existing suppliers and selling to retailers. Doing some wholesale. I was doing anything I could to make money, and I was making, six figures, but it wasn't really a long-term sustainable business. I mean, we were doing flea markets and street fairs in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and some days it was 100 degrees, and some days it was 0 degrees, and some days it was raining, and some days it was too nice to go to a flea market or a street fair, so people didn't come. So it really wasn't a sustainable, scalable business. So at that point, I had a friend of mine who, by 2011, after I was doing this for a couple of years, while I was paying my bills and everything, I had a friend of mine who said, "Look, you've always been successful your whole life. Let me give you these goods. You'll pay me when you sell them, or you'll pay me when you have the money." And he gave me some public domain DVDs, and I was selling them in the flea markets for $1 each, just to pick up a few $100 a day, and I was going to pay him when I got back on my feet. I attempted to sell 1,000 of these in a bulk wholesale lot on eBay for $1,000, so $1 each. And to sweeten the pot, I added some of my own DVDs from my own collection. So I put in like the Beatles anthology, I put in the Twilight Zone, the complete series. I think I put in Seinfeld. I put in some, really exciting titles so that people would be more inclined to buy the lot. And I had a gentleman from Texas. He emailed me through eBay system, and he said to me, "How many of those titles are in the lot that you're selling?" And I said, "Oh, it's just one of each." He goes, "Oh, so the other 900 titles are worthless." So whatever, we got to talking, and I asked him what he was doing with the DVDs, and I said, "Are you selling these privately, or are you selling these individually on eBay, or are you selling these, at flea markets or some other way of selling them?" And he said to me, "I got 3 kids working for me. They're each getting $8 an hour, and we sell about 1,000 DVDs a month on Amazon." So I didn't even know you could be a third-party seller on Amazon. I mean, I had heard that people were doing it, but it wasn't really something I knew existed on that size, on that scale. So my eyes opened up and my ears opened up, and I started researching how to sell on Amazon. And that was the beginning of it. I watched YouTube videos with Rob Anderson. I read everything that was available on the internet. I spoke to people. I engaged a company called Monsoon Commerce. And there was a gentleman who kept pushing me. He said, "You got to do FBA, you got to do FBA, you got to do FBA." And it literally took me 6 months to figure out how to do FBA, how to print a label, how to create a shipment, how to pallet, how to put things in a box. And, it was just me, a man on an island. It wasn't, I didn't have any help. I didn't have any tech skills. I didn't have anything special. And I just, I went to work at 5 in the morning and I stayed there till 10 at night. And there were days I wanted to cry, and there were days that I wanted to, give up, and I just figured it out. And once we flipped the switch to FBA, our whole lives changed. Our business changed and our whole lives changed. Like I said, we were doing, 25 grand a month. We started doing 100 grand a month overnight. Granted, it was the beginning of Q4, and my wife came to help me, and we started doing FBA, and it was like the perfect storm. And from there, we've grown to where, I was telling you about the gentleman who sold 1,000 DVDs a month. We sell over 1,000 DVDs a day now on Amazon. And we're on pace to do about $1 million a month this year, looking at about 10 to 12 million for the year, depending on how Q4 goes. So it's pretty exciting.
So when you say you went from 25,000 to 100,000 overnight, how did that affect your ability to scale with products? I mean, would you have to scramble, or did you see it? I mean, did you see it coming?
I didn't see it coming. It was a welcome surprise. And I basically said, okay, this is a tremendous opportunity for me to make money for my family. And I'm going to give it everything I got because this is, I followed the money. I taught myself how to use Microsoft Excel. I taught myself how to use a software called Seller Engine Plus, where we uploaded a list from a supplier from Excel and we ran it through the software and it went to Amazon and it grabbed all the data that we needed to make intelligent buying decisions. These days we use Scan Power Evaluate, which has been a tremendous asset to our business. We can upload a file from, let's say, Sony Studios that has 5,000 different titles on it, and it can return all the data points that we need to make an intelligent decision. So we'll get the buy box price, we'll get the sales rank, we'll get the net payout, we'll get how many other sellers are selling it, how many other FBA sellers are selling it, whether or not Amazon is selling it. And once I learned how to use Microsoft Excel, that took my business to the next level. So I literally watch YouTube videos on how to use Microsoft Excel. I'm still learning every day from the guys that are half my age that are working for me how to use Microsoft. It propelled my business to the next level. Learning how to use it, we were able to do things in bulk. We were able to automate. We were able to scale. And now there's software that we have at our fingertips is incredible. The hundreds of hours it saves us, and the ability that it allows us to grow our business. Our sales to employee ratio is like one employee for every $1 million in sales that we're doing, which is insane. And
Well, you
that's
need to hire more employees, Sam.
well,
You
we
need to hire a few
actually
more to get a few more million.
we actually did that for the summer. We took every college kid in the New Jersey area. A lot of people come to New Jersey, Jersey Shore for the summer. So we have like one kid. He's from Temple University. He's in actuarial school. Where he's learning how to do financial modeling and life insurance actuarial stuff. He could tell you how long you're going to live or when you're going to die. So I said, "Oh, you're doing actuarial stuff. You're hired." We got another kid who's in Baruch. We got another kid who's in NYU. We got another kid who called me for a job, and I gave him a hard time. And I found out afterwards that he got accepted to Columbia. And I'm like, if you would have told me that, I wouldn't have given you a hard time. So we have a bunch of college kids and high school kids that literally came to us for the summer. They started in June. They'll be done at the end of August. And, they're doing flat files and they're doing we're selling thousands and thousands of items now that are not listed on Amazon. We're creating the listings, we're taking the pictures, we're doing the flat files, we're doing clothing, we're doing shoes, we're doing private label. We're taking entire brands that are not on Amazon, and I'm making deals with the owners saying, "Look, we'll do all the work, we'll take all the pictures, we'll create all the listings, the bullet points, the keywords, the marketing, the sponsored ads, this, that, and the other thing will drive traffic. We'll present your product in the best possible light. We'll protect the brand. We'll protect your image. We'll protect the pricing. We just want if we're going to do all that, we want to make sure you don't sell it to 50 other Amazon guys, a week or a month later." They said, "Listen, if you're willing to do all that, you're our Amazon guy." And I explained to them, you don't want to sell it to 50 Amazon guys because nobody's going to do enough business for it to be worth their time. Nobody's going to be happy. You're going to be chasing 50 different accounts, managing 50 different accounts, 50 different accounts payables, accounts
Plus,
receivable.
you're going to run the price down because they're going to be competing
Right.
on price between the 50 of
Right.
them.
There's going to be downward price pressure, competition, saturation. And listen, some companies get it and some companies don't. And that's okay. There's still companies that say, "Oh, we don't want our goods on Amazon in any way, shape, or form." And that's okay. I mean, eventually they'll come around to realize that this is the future of business. And, once I have a face-to-face meeting with them, the guys that said they don't want their goods on Amazon are like, "I want you to be the only guy selling my goods on Amazon." So we do a 180 with them once we meet face to face.
But Steve wants to know, what are you going to do when these kids go back to school?
We have a plan to kidnap them and keep them. No, we're always looking to hire more people. We're actually, once we get the new warehouse, we're going to hire a bunch of tech savvy people that are either in college or finished college, that, computer science or IT guys or anybody who has computer skills. We got two jobs on me. Either you have computer skills or you got warehouse skills. Um, and those are the people that fit into our company. And we do everything 100% FBA. We don't do merchant fulfilled at all. We have our store on vacation mode for the last 3 years, so you couldn't order merchant fulfilled if you wanted to for us. You can only buy FBA.
Did you ever try doing merchant fulfill and didn't like it, or you just decided it's not worth it?
We did merchant fulfilled. We hated it. We were selling DVDs at the time, and you can imagine trying to alphabetize thousands of different DVDs and looking for it and packing it in a bubble mailer and running to the post office. And yeah, we automated a lot of that through stamps.com and having the post office come to us and coming up with warehouse systems. But it wasn't the best use of our time. And you wouldn't get your goods wouldn't be eligible for Amazon Prime, and it changed our whole business was FBA.
So Annie, to answer your questions, Annie asked, what percentage of your business is FBA? 100%. That's good.
1,000,000%. I will never do merchant fulfilled again.
Well, there's some people that have maybe have a few different items that it's hard to fulfill. Like if you do food, you're not going to sell chocolate through Amazon except during the winter months, or else it's going to melt in the warehouse. So there might, if you're really married to the products you're selling, it might be your only option. But if you don't have that problem, then why would you want to pack and ship stuff when that's what their business is?
Well, your first problem is that you're married to your product. You're never supposed to fall in love with the product that you're selling. You're supposed to sell it and make a profit and move on. If you're gung ho on selling chocolate, that opportunity to sell chocolate may preclude you from selling, shoes or clothing where you can make much higher margins. And it just doesn't make. It's not the best use of anyone's time. I understand people use the argument that, oh, well, I make more money if I merchant fulfill it, or this item is hazmat, so I can't FBA it, or whatever the, not excuse, whatever the reasons are for doing merchant fulfilled. I don't think they're the best use of anyone's time. I'm all in on FBA. At any given time, we probably have 500,000 items at FBA. And then it's just a matter of managing your inventory, managing your pricing, and so on and so forth.
Kay's asking, do you specialize in your DVDs or sell every DVD under the sun? I.e., are you a niche seller, or is there anything that sells or anything that sells seller?
So we sell anything we can make money on. I mean, we sell horse grooming kits, we sell, baby bottles, we sell cloth diapers, we sell DVDs, we sell toys, we sell, anything we can make money on. With regards to DVDs, we don't sell the latest and the greatest DVDs. So you're not going to get the movie that just came onto DVD and buy it from a distributor and sell it on Amazon, because your cost basis on that's going to be about $16, and Amazon's going to be selling it for $19.95. So by the time you pay the fees, you're losing money. So what we do is we buy closeout DVDs, liquidation DVDs, and it could be popular titles like The Wizard of Oz, or Gone with the Wind, or Casablanca, or Rocky, or any of the Steve McQueen movies that we sell thousands of, The Great Escape, Magnificent Seven, all those types of movies, because there's still a very high demand for those, but they're not the cream of the crop for the movie studios anymore. And in addition to that, people can't walk into a local store and buy these DVDs, so they have to go to Amazon or eBay. And if I had my choice, Amazon or eBay were to buy something, I'd pick Amazon 100 out of 100 times.
So are you, I mean, I'm assuming that most of your business is arbitrage right now. You said you're doing private label, but
No,
if you're
no.
selling baby bottles, are baby bottles private labeled, or are you just finding a wholesaler that you got this exclusive right to sell their product on Amazon, so you were protected? No matter, you can tell us because you're protected because of that.
No. So the way I analyze it, there's five different types of product sourcing that you do to resell on Amazon. One is retail arbitrage, one is online arbitrage, one is wholesale sourcing, one is closeouts and liquidations, and one is private label. We do all of the above. We do them very well. So we have one guy who does retail arbitrage. He's got a minivan. He drives around all over New Jersey all day, every day, buying stuff at retail arbitrage. We have one guy that all he does is online arbitrage. He goes to hundreds of different websites, and all he does is shop all day online. We have another guy who does the wholesale sourcing for us. We have a lot of relationships in place. They'll send us a list, an Excel spreadsheet. We'll evaluate it. We'll analyze it. We'll dissect it. We'll slice it. We'll dice it. We'll curate it. We'll shrink it down to a digestible size, and we'll place an order with the company. We'll place a small order, $10,000, $20,000 till we get our feet wet and understand the project, the process, the products, and then once we understand what sells quickly and what sells profitably, then we'll go deep on certain products. Originally, we'll buy wide, and then we'll narrow it down and we'll go deep. When we do closeouts and liquidations, that's my specialty. I get people that I call, or people call me, and they have large quantities of products. We had one guy, he closed 17 swimsuit stores. He had $2 million worth of bathing suits sitting in a storage unit. We bought the whole, he sent me a 41-page PDF, which I converted to Excel. I locked myself in my office for 8 hours uninterrupted. I analyzed the heck out of that list. I dissected it. I added. I multiplied it. I looked at best case scenario. I looked at worst case scenario. I did the math. That's my strength, is math and numbers. And I decided what I could pay for that, opportunity. We came up with a deal. We paid the guy $100,000 for $2 million worth of bathing suits. So that's 5% of the original retail price. In my estimation, we're going to make $300,000 to $500,000 on that over the next year. So it's a process and it's a pain, and we have to take pictures, and we bought mannequins, and we have people doing flat files, and it's probably going to cost me, $30,000 to $50,000 in labor, but it's a risk I was willing to take because we bought 25,000 bathing suits at an average cost of $4 each, and they're selling between $50 and $150 on Amazon, and they're all
Wow.
brand names, and it's a ton of work. And most people, I spoke to one guy who's like the king of swimsuits, and the guy just sold his company for like tens of millions of dollars. And he's a friend of my brother-in-law's, and I called him and I said, "Hey, what do you think of this deal?" He goes, "That's way too much work for me. I wouldn't do it. Even if you're going to double your money, I wouldn't do it." And you know what? I took what he said and I said, "Listen, nobody else would do this. I'm going to do this because nobody else will do this. And that's why I'm going to make money on the deal, because nobody else is willing to do it."
Well, I've got some questions stacking up here, but I've got a question for you. If you got these guys working for you and they are specializing in some of those fields, are they on a revenue share compensation with you, or what's to keep them from walking from you and just taking the knowledge they have now and leaving you with the only specialty that you're working in, which is clearance and closeouts, where your online arbitrage guy just says, "Okay, I can do this on my own and make more money."
So that seems to be everyone's biggest fear. I had one guy do that. He was a young guy who was, looking to start dating and eventually looking to get married. And he came to me and he said, "Listen, I want to do this on my own." I said, "I'll be honest with you. I don't think you're ready. Stay here another year, and then you'll be ready to do it on your own." And he basically said he thinks he's ready, and he has no expenses. He's living at home, and he wants to try it. And if he fails, it won't be the worst thing in the world. And I told him I'll help him in any way I can. It takes a certain type of person to do what we do, and anybody who does it knows that. You need to have a high risk tolerance. You need to be able to, not to be a gambler, but you need to be able to take chances, and you need to be able to, if you have a family, it's very hard to stop a steady income with health benefits and just drop everything and just take a chance on this. Um, so not everybody is cut out to do it for themselves. A lot of people have responsibilities and families and they can't do it for themselves. A lot of people don't have the capital to do it themselves, and a lot of people don't have the guts to do it for themselves. And a lot of people, they while they may know a part of the business, anyone who runs their own business knows you have to be everything from the CEO to the janitor to the warehouse guy to the buyer to the human resources department to whatever else is part of a successful company. So not everybody, somebody may be good at one aspect of the business, but that doesn't mean they'll be able to run a successful business from A to Z.
So a couple people brought up the same question when you said you went from 25,000 to 100,000 in sales overnight. Steve was said, well, how did you suddenly acquire the 100,000 in merchandise? A truckload deal? Did you get terms? Did you have to borrow money? Greg was saying the same thing. How did you get 100,000 inventory? If you went overnight, that means you had to spend a lot more money than you normally would have to spend. How did you able to scale and cover that big bump?
No, so what we did is so one of the huge advantages that we had was when I started this business. My wife was working at another job, a well-paying job, and I didn't take a penny out of the business for 2 years. I just kept reinvesting all my profits into more merchandise, more merchandise. And every month my wife would say to me, why don't we save some money instead of you keep buying merchandise? I said, we're buying stuff for $2 and selling it for $10. Why would I keep the money in the bank? you know. And it's just we just kept doing that. I had put my head down and I just said, "Wow, this is crazy." I'm literally buying stuff for $2 and selling it for $10, and Amazon's taking $4 in fees, and I'm tripling my money. I'm turning two into six. So if someone said to you, "Give me $2, I'll give you six," you'll sell a kidney if you have to. You'll do whatever it takes to keep that going. And that's what I did. And because I did that, then when we put the switch on for FBA, we had enough goods at FBA to be able to do quadruple the business. We had enough money coming in and enough money being reinvested into merchandise. We didn't take any money out of the business. And when we started taking money out of the business, we took the bare essentials. Maybe it was $2,000 a month for our rent and utilities and groceries. And that's how we did it for 2 years. And then eventually we bought a house and we started to got a bigger warehouse and so on and so forth. But, you don't want to put money into anything other than inventory when you first started. You don't need fancy office equipment. You don't need a fancy office chair. You don't need high-tech computers. You don't need a big warehouse. You don't need a flashy car or a watch or a house or any of the things that people do when they come into money. You just need more inventory because it's a passive residual income that pays you back in spades. It's like just like investing money, in any capacity. You invest money, compound interest is your best friend. The advantage of time. You speak to Warren Buffett. You don't have to do extraordinary things to get. You don't have to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. You can do ordinary things. Just do them consistently. Just do them for a long enough period of time, and you'll get extraordinary results.
It's called the rule of 72. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The rule of 72, how compound interest works. I've been in the financial services industry, and what you're saying is true. Uh, you can take any interest rate you're getting on your money, divided into to 72. It tells you how fast or how long it takes your money to double. So if you're getting 3%, that means your money doubles every 24 years. Or if you're getting 1%, like you're at the bank, it takes 72 years for your money to double. But if you're tripling your money in a matter of a week or two from sending a product in, you take that and run it out, you're getting a really high rate of return, 100% plus rate of return. By the way, you basically described what my business mentor taught me, which is starve your personal life, feed your business life. And I don't know, I can't tell you how many people that I've run into in my business that have, taken money out of their 401k to start a small business and they go buy a brand new pickup truck and a brand new trailer and start a handyman business before they even had any business. And I begged them not to do it. And next thing you know, they paid 30% penalties and taxes on that money, and then they went out of business. So yeah, it's you starve your personal life and work really lean. You don't need a fancy desk. You just need a place you can. I mean, go to Craigslist and get stuff for free and set up your office.
We started in my apartment, and until it was becoming an issue with me and my wife, we stayed there. And then we took a 10 by 10 office inside of someone else's office. And when we realized we'd have to lift, hundreds of pounds of DVDs to get to the one that we sold, we moved into a 600 square foot warehouse, and then a 2,500 square foot, and now a 4,000 square foot. And now we're going to take a 20,000 square foot warehouse, but I have other plans for that warehouse. So
Is that because you're doing? I mean, what is your percent? Somebody's asking this question. Um, how much merchandise do you have at FBA right now? My question to go along with that is how much of your business is arbitrage versus private label, and how much inventory do you have at FBA right now?
we have well into seven figures of inventory at FBA, probably about a 500,000 units at any given time. And by units, I mean items. So we could have 250,000 DVDs and 50,000 toys and pet products and home products and baby products and clothing and swimsuits and shoes and you know
Well,
anything that we sell.
does Amazon limit you? I thought they would limit the total number of items you can have at FBA. Is that total number of one item or of one SKU, and do they make exceptions for a big seller like yourself?
So initially, when you start, they do have velocity limits. They do have a limit on how much you can send to FBA, and what they do is they measure your sales turnover. I believe you have to sell like 7 or 8 or 9% of your inventory over the course of 8 weeks, consistently before they lift the limits. And if you call Amazon and you explain to them what your plans are and what your plan of action is, they will raise the limits to the point where you become unlimited. They will still limit. If I try to send 5,000 of one item and it's not a fast selling item, they'll say we're at inventory capacity in our fulfillment centers for that particular item, just because they know it wouldn't make good business sense to send 5,000 of that item to FBA. So we don't have any limits per se. They do limit certain SKUs, depending on how many other ones they have in their fulfillment network. But for the most part, they don't limit us.
Matt is asking, with 500,000 products in the warehouse, have you ever worried about getting shut down like you did in eBay and having to pull all that stuff out?
Every day. I worry about it every day. I try to make sure it's not going to happen by playing by the rules and responding to the performance notifications and monitor it. We're ferocious when it comes to our feedback. We don't let ones, twos, or threes stay on our account. We have 40,000 feedback, and we're at 100%. And we fight every single feedback to get it removed, and we escalate it, and we open cases, and we monitor it, and not with the customer, but with Amazon per se. And we just do, if someone tells me, hey, you better give me a refund, or I'm going to leave you negative feedback, I'll give the guy $100 refund. It doesn't mean anything to me in the grand scheme of things. I focus on the big picture, and I don't sweat the small stuff. I focus on the big picture. We have about a 1.5% return rate. If someone wants a refund, obviously I don't have much control because it's FBA anyway. But it doesn't bother me when someone says I want a refund. It's part of the cost of doing business.
So when you say you don't allow 1, 2, or 3 stars to stay up there, how do you? I mean, I didn't think Amazon would remove a product review. They'll remove a feedback if they leave a product review in a feedback
So
situation. So are you saying that you just work like crazy to make them satisfied where they will change it, or are you look for loopholes, the technicalities to get Amazon to kick it out?
No, it's neither, bending over backwards for the customer. I mean, we do that anyway. We bend over backwards for the customer. We apologize profusely. But for the most part, we approach it like a lawyer. We say, okay, what does the feedback say? And what can we categorize it at so that Amazon removes it? So if it's an issue about the price, we get them to remove it. If it's a product review, we get them to remove it. If it's a late shipment or a missed shipment or a lost package, we get them to remove it under the basis that it's an FBA issue. So once you're doing FBA, most feedbacks will get removed by Amazon because they want you in their fulfillment network. They want you doing FBA, and you don't have to worry about your shipping metrics. You don't have to worry about your on-time delivery. You don't have to worry about your tracking numbers. You just got to worry about your buyer messages and that you represented the product in the honest condition that it's in. 99% of the stuff we sell, other than books, we sell everything is new. The only thing we'll sell used is books. And that goes a long way to our feedback also, because we don't try to pass off used stuff like new. We don't sell used stuff because there's always a subjective argument as to what condition it really is. The seller thinks it's used like new, and the buyer thinks it's used acceptable or not acceptable. So we never want to get into, that kind of confrontation. We just sell new stuff. We sell brand new quality, name brand, authentic, verified supplier stuff. We got boxes in from online or retail arbitrage, and the boxes were dented. I must have put away $5,000 worth of merchandise that we couldn't return for wwhatever reason. I ended up donating it to charity because I didn't want someone to get a Christmas present with a dented box or anything like that. I told my warehouse workers have been with me for 3 years. We don't take any chances with Amazon or Amazon customers. If we get an item in with a dented box, we either return it or we don't send it in as new. And obviously, if we're talking about toys, you can't sell used toys unless you're going to call it collectible, and we don't do that. So if we get a toy in and the box is damaged, it usually goes to my favorite charity. Or it goes back to, it returns to sender, you know.
Gara's asking, do you ever take inventory back from FBA?
We do on occasion if we feel we can redistribute it through another channel of distribution at a higher price. We used to do eBay and Newegg and Buy.com and Sears. Again, those weren't the best use of our time. They were equating to about 5 to 10% of our overall business cumulatively, and they were taking about 20% of our time. So we just shut them all down before last Christmas, and we just focused exclusively on Amazon. I know everyone says don't put all your eggs in one basket, but we like the basket that we're in. And if we had all those other sites and Amazon went down, God forbid, we'd be in very big trouble anyway. So we do markdowns, we do sponsored ads. We analyze our inventory, obviously storage fees and long-term storage fees. We have other channels of distribution. We have people selling flea markets. We have retailers that we sell to. So if we feel there's a bit, we can take a product that's for whatever reason, we bought one product that was supposed to be the hottest product, but we found out Amazon's not sharing the buy box regardless of how low we go on the item. So that's an item that we bought for, I think, $8, and we have a few hundred of them there. That's an item we're not going to destroy. We're not going to pay long-term storage fees. We can't mark it down any further, and we're still not going to get the buy box. So that's an item we'll probably recall and sell it to a local retailer or something. You got to get creative. You got to think outside the box. And that's really, the only way to make money these days is to do things differently than what everyone else is doing.
Well, so when you've got all these different sectors that you're in, whether it's online arbitrage or retail arbitrage or clearance and closeouts, how do you compare the opportunity cost of saying, okay, yeah, somebody was selling, hazmat stuff, so they're going to do merchant fulfilled. And you're just like, well, you're missing out. You're married to the product or married to the idea. Could you be married to the type of sales you're doing. Would it make more sense? I mean, I know retail arbitrage, if you do it right, is a higher profit margin, but it's hard to source and it's hard to scale like you can say a private label product. So could you see yourself focusing in a more narrow sense so that you actually can scale bigger?
Retail arbitrage is not hard if you know what you're doing. You just want to make sure it's the best use of your time and money. I have people that I entrust, I train, and I teach, and I coach, and I mentor, and I consult. And, I have, meetings with each of my employees every day. And yeah, one guy who does my retail arbitrage, he's 65 years old, and the guy's making me a fortune. You know, he's finding deals. He's learning from me. He's learning from himself. He's learning from the Facebook groups. He's learning from other people. I'm giving him every tool in the book. That at his disposal. He's got discount gift cards. He's got Amex Platinum cards. He's got whatever he needs to be successful. He could even take one of the kids from the warehouse to be a helper if he doesn't want to carry, a couple hundred boxes. And again, you got to make sure it's the best use of your time, money, resources, energy, because those are all finite things. Um, and just to give you an example, we could find something in grocery that costs, $4 and it sells for $10, and we make $2 on it after all the fees, so that's a 50% return. But that's probably not the best use of our time. We'd rather buy an article of clothing that costs us $50 and sells for $100, and Amazon takes a $20 vig, fee, and we'll make $30, which is 60% ROI, but it's a lot less work than all those grocery items. So we're always trying to figure out the best opportunities for ourselves. Last year, we've sold about 360,000 items with an average selling price of about $14. This year, we're looking to bring up our average selling price closer to $30. And, we're doing categories like shoes where the average selling price is $76.52 for us. And we're doing clothing where the average selling price is about $46. Obviously, the bathing suits are a big part of that. But we'll do underwear, we'll do socks, we'll do bras, we'll do anything, pet products, home products, baby products, kitchen products, we just follow the money, wherever
Well,
it's going to make it.
well, Angela's asking. I thought about selling DVDs, she says, but I'm worried about counterfeit items. How do you avoid that?
So we have a very strong relationship with our suppliers. We have hopefully a very strong relationship with Amazon. We have verified suppliers that are either the studios themselves or authorized distributors of the studios. I would not buy DVDs unless you can verify who you're buying it from. Certain big authorized distributors that Amazon will recognize. I would not sell DVDs unless you're getting it from one of Amazon's approved suppliers, because that's a recipe for disaster. There's people that buy DVDs in flea markets or secondhand or Craigslist or eBay. It's a recipe for disaster.
Erica is asking, do you run your own pay-per-click campaigns or do you outsource it? Where do you recommend we educate ourselves about pay-per-click?
I thought I heard paper clips, but I'm assuming you said pay per click.
Yeah,
Uh,
click. Yeah.
no, we do sponsored ads on Amazon. We don't really do search engine optimization or pay per click outside of Amazon because we get the numbers, we read the financials. Amazon Amazon spends $8 million a month in Google search engine optimization and pay per click. So nobody makes it rain like Amazon does. You can build the greatest website in the world. You can do every search engine trick in the world and spend millions of dollars. You still won't get the traffic that Amazon gives you. So whoever can.
I think Erica is also. I think when most people in our group ask about pay per click, they're talking about Amazon's sponsored ad pay per click. So you're right. I'm glad you said that. It just makes no sense to spend money on Facebook ads or Google ads when you can spend money on Amazon ads, and they'll pick the winning words for you. They'll help you drive traffic to your listings.
Right. So typically, what we'll do is we'll do a sponsored ad campaign on a cluster of products, let's say DVDs or toys. We'll set the pay per click at, let's say, 5 cents. We'll put it on automatic or autopilot, and then we'll analyze the data and we'll adapt accordingly. And we'll switch it over to manual with the correct keywords. We may bump up the bid higher. The beauty of Amazon sponsored ads or pay per clicks is you're not paying that. Your ad is not seen unless you have the buy box. So your conversion ratio is pretty good. If you look at what you're spending versus what you're gaining in profits, it's usually a winning situation with Amazon.
How in the heck do you get anything out of 5 cents a click on your bid?
Well, you got to realize we have about 15,000 unique SKUs. So we can literally put all our SKUs in the sponsored ad programs and it'll still be worth it at 5 cents. And then like I said, we adjust accordingly once we see what the data returns to us when we're on automatic.
Okay, all right. Deborah says, well, let me take this off. Let's see what I'll get to yours, Deborah. How are you able to track the expenses versus sales versus profit versus inventory with all the amount of inventory that you have? What are the tools you're using for OA and RA as well?
So let me go on record as saying that a lot of people in this business spend too little time on knowing the numbers, and a lot of people in this business spend too much time trying to bookkeep every single individual sale and trying to figure out their exact profit on every single sale. So what I mean by that is a lot of people will buy products, they'll sell products, they don't know the Amazon fees, they don't know the inbound freight costs, they don't know their labor costs, they don't know their box and poly bag and labels costs, they don't know any costs other than what they paid for the item and what they sold it for. That is a total disaster. You will go out of business if you do things like that. Conversely, if you micromanage every single individual sale down a penny and spend half your year doing bookkeeping and reconciling and organizing and QuickBooks and double entries and this and that, you're also gonna run into problems because you're not going to be maximizing your time or energy or anything that you're doing, your resources. So we know our numbers cold. We know our FBA fees. We know our shipping fees. We know our supplies fees. We know our labor fees. Every fee we know down to the penny, and it's measured and it's monitored and it's improved upon. But we don't spend hours and hours and hours calculating how much we make on every single individual sale. We use tools like FBA Calculator, Scan Power Evaluate. We use Inventory Lab, and these are things that make my life a lot easier. My CPA doesn't believe you have to account for every single sale individually on the books. He takes a collective number that you did in gross sales. He takes a collective number of Amazon fees, collective number of all the other expenses you could dream of, and that's how he files our taxes. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of micromanaging, the thousands or the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands of sales they make a year on Amazon. And
So
I
you're
think
saying
that's
are you saying your accountant treats it like a sample, like when you do a survey where you take 1,000 people? How does that work?
no. I'm not a CPA, but my guy is one of the top CPAs in New York. He's got 35 CPAs working for him. He charges me an arm and a leg, but he takes, let's say, I don't know, maybe I'm misspeaking. From what I understand, he'll take my gross sales. Let's say it's $5 million last year. Let's say, okay, you made $5 million in gross sales. You had $1.5 million in Amazon fees. You had $500,000 in, labor and inbound freight and whatever your other fees are, and he'll just figure out the profits and he'll pay the taxes accordingly. He'll subtract out the cost of goods and he'll maybe someone who's an accountant can answer this better than
So
me.
are you talking about income taxes? You're not talking about sales taxes then. You're talking about
I'm
income
talking about
taxes.
income taxes. Income taxes.
Okay, yeah, I can get that. What about sales taxes? Do you use tax jar? What do you do about that? Because that can be a big hairy deal.
So I'd like to plead the fifth, but I'll go on record as saying, my accountant has done the research. He knows people at the IRS. He's spoken to people. There's not a whole lot of case law that says, you have nexus in every single state and you have to file sales tax in every single state. So we file taxes in the states where we feel we have nexus. It's not 50 states. Um, and we don't anticipate there being a problem. There was just something posted in my mastermind group by a friend of mine, Michael Flanagan. There was a Time magazine article, and based on everything I read, and I read like a madman. I read, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I read on the internet, you know, every single day. There is nothing that says to me that the IRS is going to go after millions and millions of e-commerce sellers and expect them to have paid sales tax to 50 different states with thousands of different counties with all different sales tax percentages and reconstruct years and years and millions of transactions. And I just don't see it being feasible. I know
It's
people.
crazy. It's crazy. Like in my county, the county sales tax is 9.75% on sellable on items you sell, but then some uh, items they're not taxed at all, like food items and whatnot. And then the city has its own tax rate, and
Right.
so it depends on whether you're in the city or in the county when you buy something. So you may have to pay both of them if you're in the city. And I multiply that. We got 95 counties in Tennessee, and you multiply that to 3,000 counties. It's crazy.
An impossible logistical nightmare that will never be enforced is my humble opinion. I come from New York, where you go to Scarsdale, it's 5 3/4. You go to New York City, it's 8 3/4. You go to this county, it's that. It's insanity. And we're in New Jersey now. Everything is 7%, except there's no tax on clothing or shoes, which is great for us. Except if you're buying cleats, which there are taxes on, because those
See
are
that? Because it's a sports item.
exactly. And I think somebody asked the question, why does the U.S. tax colored pencils?
Right.
Uh, it's a crazy question, and God bless the person that asked it. We asked Siri, we asked Alexa, which is Amazon's Echo, and we Googled it, and nobody has a valid answer as to why. My guess is that a colored pencil is not a necessity; it's a luxury, as opposed to, let's say, a number two pencil, and therefore that's why they tax it, similar to cleats or something
Well, he
else.
may be meaning to that. Why does the U.S. tax it as an import? If he was, because this guy, it struck me this guy was, as I think it was Nazma or Nazra.
Yes, yes, yes.
He may be moving those things into the U.S. and paying customs tax on it. So it was probably at one point they were protecting the
I,
colored pencil
I don't
market.
think there's I don't think there's a human being alive that could explain the U.S. import taxes. It's just a crazy system.
Matt wants to know: do you use a repricer? How often do you reprice, manage prices, etc.?
Absolutely, we reprice daily. We use App Eagle Repricer. We're on continuous repricing, which means it reprices every couple of minutes as opposed to every hour, and that really is because of the categories that we're in, like toys and DVDs, which have become commoditized, and there's very heavy competition, and there could be a couple of hundred sellers on a listing. Um, we're trying to phase out of those categories. We're not going to go away from them because those are the things that brought us to where we are. But we're trying to focus on things that are not listed on Amazon and bringing those to market. and really having exclusives on those things.
All right, so Donna, this brings it into Donna's question. She said, "Are you doing 100% arbitrage? Are you doing also doing private label?" I know you are. What percentage of your business is private label?
So I don't know exact numbers, and I should, but the reason I don't is not because I don't know the numbers, but because it's constantly evolving. So we have one guy, all he does is retail arbitrage. He probably buys about between maybe about $1 million a year in product at retail arbitrage. Online arbitrage, we do a lot more because it's a lot easier to do, to scale it up. You don't have to have people run around in vehicles and, exhaustion setting in. And so online, we probably do about double that. We do a tremendous amount with wholesale. We do a tremendous amount with closeouts and liquidations, but that's constantly changing. Private label is where I see the biggest growth for us. Um, I actually have a meeting with someone that I'm going partners with. He's coming to my office tomorrow for our third meeting. The contracts are with the lawyers. This guy actually already develops electronics, clothing, kitchen products, and he sells to the likes of Groupon and all the flash sale and deal of the day websites. He has no clue what he's doing with Amazon. He actually got kicked off Amazon years ago. He's like, listen, I want to go partners with you. You're the Amazon guy. Let's do this. I'll put up all the money. We'll give you, a healthy percentage of the company, and let's do it. So, I met with him. I met with his brother and other people that work for him a couple of times already, and we got a good comfort level. And we feel if we do private label the right way with these products on Amazon, we can do $100 million on private label.
Well, that's why I was wondering because it seems like to me when you compared doing, to me when you say it's crazy not to do FBA, I'll never do fulfilled by merchant, and if you're married to your product, you're making a big mistake. I almost see that as private label versus retail arbitrage. Why wouldn't you go all private label where you can source a product from a factory? You can scale it up majorly. You don't have to worry about whether you're fighting for the buy box. You don't have to worry about whether or not there's 200 people on the listing and whether you should phase it out or not. You can spend your time and effort getting a lot more private label products online and getting rid of all of that mental overhead that you have.
But I'm also, so I look at it as if I'm employing someone and that person's making, let's say, 30 or $50,000 a year, and they're making me $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Um, there's no reason I wouldn't do retail arbitrage.
You better hope they don't see this webinar.
No, no, they're cool. They're cool. They're well taken care of, and they get bonuses and perks, and it's all good. Um, it takes a certain, and they can come and drop off the goods at the warehouse and go back out if they want. They're not the same person that's processing all the products that they're buying. So we have a nice system in place. We get hundreds of boxes in every day from online arbitrage. We get hundreds of items in a day from retail arbitrage. We get pallets of merchandise from wholesale and closeout and liquidation. So obviously, we don't need a bigger warehouse because we don't stock merchandise by us. We just need a bigger staging area so that we can do more with FBA.
So would you say your overall, and you can't put a hard number on it, but would you say your private label aspect is 10% of your business, 30% of your business? You want to ballpark it?
So right now, it's probably about 10%, but I could see it being closer to 50% within the next year.
Okay.
We're also developing a product that I actually found on my own on Amazon before all these private label courses came out. I was researching bestsellers in each respective category, and I stumbled on an item that was an anti inflammatory cream. And it was clearly a private label item, and it was in the top 100 of all products in health and personal care. The name of the product is called Penetrex. You guys can look it up. I'm sure some people are already doing that. Basically, it's an anti-inflammatory cream. It's been in the top 100 or the top 50 of all health and personal care on Amazon since I bought it. I bought it on May 17th, 2014. I had this dream that I'm going to make something bigger and better and stronger and faster. I don't know how to manufacture cream. So I approached one of my friends who's a doctor, said, hey, let's do this together. Both put in money. You talk to your chemist, and I'll do the Amazon part. For 6 months, we did absolutely nothing. He's a doctor. I'm busy with my stuff. We didn't do anything. We found another guy who I know who does manufacture stuff. We asked him to be involved. He got on a plane, went to New Zealand, found a manufacturer, developed a cream, engaged a branding and marketing company, trademarked the name, did field surveys. He went to all the malls in New Jersey, testing out different creams, testing out different names. So this guy took the bull by the horns, and that he brought in his partner who he does real estate with. I brought in my partner who I have on my second Amazon account with permission from Jeff Bezos. And we have 5 partners now, including the doctor. We each put in money. We're going to make this cream. We're going to make thousands of jars of it. We're going to give away thousands of jars of it. And we're talking to celebrity endorsers, and we've sent it out to some very famous retired athletes, Roger Staubach, Rick Barry, Tiny Archibald, and a bunch of other guys. And I think that could be a 7-figure business in the first year if we play
So
our
you're
cards
just
right.
you still haven't launched it yet. Y'all are in the research and development phase on that.
It's a lot of work. We want to make sure we're in good standing with the FDA. We have a FDA consultant that we're paying. We have lawyers that we're paying. We have, people that are making the jar the way we want it, people that are making the cream the way we want it. It's a process.
It's
We
a
don't
big
want
bet. It sounds like.
we don't want to do anything half-assed. We want to make sure we do it right.
All right, Sam. I'm going to change gears here a little bit because so far we've been talking about big business. You're doing 5 million and going towards 10 million this year. Most of our folks on here are new and just getting started. I'm going to put up Mick's question and then I'm going to rephrase it. Mick says, hearing your major success is amazing, Sam. What would you advise for beginners who are only a few months in but wanting to get to your level eventually? Sometimes patience seems to be the hardest part. I would rephrase this question and say, you have to start over from scratch. You don't have your 20 years experience in e-commerce. So if you had to start over without all of, without a whole lot of money or a whole lot of experience, what would you tell a new person? What's a path that they could take to launch or get into this business and make some money and be successful?
Well, I have to be honest with you. My e-commerce experience really didn't help me in my Amazon business because I'm not very tech savvy. I learned how to build websites. I taught myself how to do it. I'm not a tech savvy guy, naturally. I teach myself everything. I read like crazy. I read maybe 6 to 8 hours a day, whether it be, on my iPad or my Kindle or my iPhone or I read everything, I learn everything, I watch everything, I buy every single book, I take courses, I always working on self improvement. If you want to start out, you start out at the beginning. You learn everything there is to learn about Amazon, everything there is to learn about FDA. You learn everything there is to learn about, the fees and the numbers and the mathematics of it and the logic of it and the psychology of it. You could join all. I'm in about 200 different Facebook groups that pertain to my business. So you can imagine how much of a time suck that appears to be. But there's things I've learned in those groups that have netted me 6 figures. Um,
So what?
I started.
So if you're saying you need to learn all this stuff, Deborah's asking, what would you do? What's the top tip you would give for getting your feet wet in wholesale? And again, these are people that maybe they're not starting with 20. I mean, you said earlier, oh, I had a small order is 10 or 20,000. A lot of people are like, that's more money than I could ever have right now to get launched. I wish I had 10,000 just to launch one product.
My initial wholesale orders were $300 to $500. Wholesale is not that difficult. It may seem intimidating, and you may get rejected because some people just simply don't want to sell to Amazon sellers that don't have a brick and mortar store. But that's an opportunity also. You may want to partner with someone who does have a brick and mortar store that has access to the manufacturers. You may want to, wholesale is very simple. You find a product, you trace it back to the manufacturer, you call the manufacturer, you send them an email, you say, hey, I love your products. I'd really like to open an account to buy it. They might say, where do you resell it? They might say, call our distributors, and then it's a matter of, how well you sell yourself. So all the things I went back to before, we're gonna protect brand, we're gonna protect your image, we're gonna protect the price, we're gonna feast your product in the best possible light. We can do a lot of volume. We're going to spend the money to drive traffic to your product. We're ready, willing, and able to buy.
So
We
how do you
don't need.
determine? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how do you determine when you're looking at some company like that that's a possibility? They're not on Amazon now, but how do you look at their products and say, wow, those products would sell on Amazon? Is it their current sales now, or are there similar products that you're looking at on Amazon that are already selling? How do you evaluate whether you want to sell their products and that they will sell?
So if it's a company that's not on Amazon, we do a lot of research, comparable companies, whether or not they're on anyone else's website, like Target or Walmart or Kmart or Sears or whoever. And we see if is it a brand name product? Is it a generic product? Is it a licensed product? Is it a not licensed product? And by license, I mean, it could have Disney characters on there or something to that effect, as opposed to branded, which is, Hamilton Beach or Sony or whatever. Um, and we just simply say, send us a list of your products in an Excel spreadsheet with the cost price and the case pack quantity and the quantity that you have available, and where are the goods? Are they on the East Coast or the West Coast? And we try a small sample order. A small sample order could be $300 to $500. We'll buy several different SKUs, and we'll monitor. Everything we do is monitoring and metrics and measuring. If you can't measure something, you can't improve something. So we'll buy 12 pieces of 200. We started doing children's apparel a few months ago. We went to companies in New York City and we said, hey, we want to give you an order. They're like, sure, what do you want to buy? We said, we'll buy a case of each. Now, we don't know what we're doing. We're buying a case of each. They have 200 different styles. We're creating the listings. Some of it is Hello Kitty. Some of it is Buster Brown. Some of it, I don't know, we're experimenting. And we're going to see where that takes us. We're going to make mistakes, but we're also going to find out a lot of things that are very valuable to us going forward. So
When you're getting into the private label aspect, are you looking at sourcing products from China? Somebody asked that earlier. Where do you, I mean, I can see how you could go to a company that says, hey, let me put your stuff online for you. That's not really private label in that respect, unless they're private label and you're just kind of wholesaling it. So are you actually sourcing your own brand or creating your own brand in the private label area?
right, so there's different ways you can private label. There's called white labeling. There's private labeling. We want to own the brand. We want to dictate the price. We want to dictate the image. We want to present it the way we want to present it. We want to have the ability to take it to retail after we've established the brand on Amazon. We want to have our own website where we have information, and we want to really own the brand. So we're doing everything. We're buying legit UPCs from GS1. We're trademarking. We're researching. We're talking to FDA consultants. There's a lot easier ways to private label. My friend Andy Slamans has a phenomenal program on private label. I think it's less than $500. And he shows you how to do it from Alibaba to Amazon, what to look for, how to make sure you don't get ripped off. And, he private labels. The guy's doing maybe $100,000 a month on Amazon private labeling things like kitchen utensils and, glass straws and
So his sales have gone up since I interviewed. I interviewed him around January, February, and he had done about 500,000. So he's
Yeah,
gone up quite a bit.
yeah. And this great guy. He's one of the nicest, most genuine people I ever had the pleasure of meeting. He came to my warehouse about a year ago, and we hit it off, and we become friends. And I just saw him at the Scan Power conference in Orlando. And of course, Chris Green made sure that I followed him in speaking. Um, the two things I didn't want to do was follow Andy Slamons and speak right before lunch. Both those things happened. So I don't know if anyone's ever heard Andy speak, but you need a box of Kleenex when this guy speaks. He speaks from the heart. He's very genuine. He's a quality person, and I'm honored to call him a friend.
He is a good guy, and I enjoyed interviewing him. If you guys want to watch that interview, if you haven't seen it, it's in the archives. You can send me an email at jakerobinsonrvp@gmail, and I'll send it to you. Sean is asking, what do you recommend for new sellers and and us up and coming sellers to prep for the holiday season Q4?
So Q4 is a different animal. When we get close to Q4, we prepare for Q4 from December 26th of the year before. So right after Christmas, December 26th, we say, okay, what do we need to do to get ready for Q4 next year? And we
Holy
work
cow!
work towards it all year. We really do, because those 3 months, you know, we did $1 million in a month last year. It was incredible. Um, you know, and it's just we just keep feeding the beast, just keep finding products, sending it to Amazon, managing your inventory, replenishing your inventory, and just keep the money in the business. Don't be a hero and take the money out and go buy a boat or a car or a Rolex or a house or whatever else you want to do with your money. Just keep buying inventory. Just keep buying inventory.
Stacy wants to know, what is your criteria for determining whether a product is not selling or whether it's time to start, stop carrying that particular product or phasing out of that product.
So the beauty of Amazon is the market tells you everything you need to know. We don't need to guess. We put it for sale. If it doesn't sell, we adjust accordingly.
Well, what's your criteria for that? If it doesn't sell over what time frame? What's the period where you say, if it ain't selling by this many days, I'm out, or it's a
So
dud?
we're constantly reassessing the landscape, as I like to say. The landscape means what's going on in the market. So we'll look at an item, let's say a Fisher Price toy, and we'll say, okay, is Amazon selling this item? Is Amazon not selling this item? How many other sellers are selling this? How many other FBA sellers are selling this? How does our price at FBA compare to the merchant fulfilled price? How's the sales rank? Is it trending upwards? Is it trending downwards? How are the reviews? Are the reviews good or are the reviews bad? They're saying it's a piece of junk or they're saying it's their grandson's favorite toy. Things like that we look at. We check the graphs. We check Camel, Camel, Camel. We check Keepa. We check Price Zombie. We check other retailers. Is it selling nationwide? Are there any ads? Are there any TV ads for it? Are there any newspaper or radio ads for the item? Is it Shopkins, where every kid in the world is talking about it? Or is it a Zoomer Dino, which everybody says was a disaster? You really have to have your pulse on, the
So how
market.
do you keep track of all that? Do you have a punch list of all that information where you say, "Hey guys, here's a product they're thinking about selling. Let's go answer all these questions." You go to Camel, 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 Terra Peak. I'm gonna check the BSR. I'm gonna go check and see if it's selling on TV or not. How do you keep track of all that stuff?
Once you do it all day, every day, it becomes second nature. I read like crazy. I study. I learn. I adapt. If you don't adapt, you're going to die. If you're a dinosaur, you're going to become extinct. You have to constantly improve your knowledge, your skill sets, your resources. I'm running a consulting program right now, not to brag or anything. We got 100 people. They each paid $5,000 for the year to be consulted and mentored by me and my staff. And these people that just started with us a month or two ago, they're doing more business now in June and July than they did in October, November, and December of last year, which is pretty incredible. Because
Wow, just starting out, just in the first 2 months.
we all know the summer is very quiet on Amazon. People are outdoors; they're not sitting by their computers, and we all know what Q4 is like on Amazon. It's just a rising tide lifts all boats. You know,
Dylan says, "What was your turnaround time from the time you bought merchandise and selling on FBA? Because merchandise, I guess, sent into FBA for too long, sitting in FBA for too long, could be detrimental for cash flow." So I guess what
so
he's looking for turnaround time from the time you buy it to the time you sell it, I guess.
I feel like you have to have a pretty good mix of products. So we could have high margin, slow turning product. We could have low margin, fast turning product. And then every once in a while, we'll get high margin, fast turning product. So you really have to have a mix of all those things to have a successful business. I know a lot of people like to do long term holds. Unless you're tripling your money, I don't think it's the best use of your money because you could have turned that inventory 4 to 6 times in the 6 months that you did a long-term hold. So I know people like to speculate on Legos and different things. That's really not something I
You're
ascribe
talking
to.
about like buy it in March and hold it until October.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can do it. Some people do it very successfully, um, but you really have to. The stars have to align for everything to work out perfectly. And I really don't think for most people, some people that are more experienced and have deeper pockets and have more, you know, capital, it's not a bad strategy. And I know people made a fortune doing it. But for most people, you just want to buy your product, make your margins,
Get it
sell
sold.
it, do
All
it
right.
again. Wash, rinse, repeat, you know?
Gurr is asking kind of a technical question, maybe fits in. 8% inventory turn, 8% inventory turn every 10 weeks, 50% total turnover annually. How do you throttle new product acquisition without drowning in new unsold product? I guess he means
That's,
how do you throttle it up?
that's way over my pay grade. I don't understand the question.
All right, Gerd, rephrase the question, brother. And he asked a lot of questions. He's one of my top question askers. So rephrase that question, send it back in.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't ask, you don't receive, right?
right. Stacy says, "What is your criteria?" We've already covered that one. Javier says, "Have you ever been suspended with Amazon? And what do you think is the best way to approach an Amazon suspension?"
So, by the grace of God, I've never been suspended by Amazon. I do get phone calls every single day from people that know me or people that are friends of mine or people that are clients of mine that have gotten suspended. Um, I can tell you we've noticed the trend that a lot more sellers are getting suspended these days, but a lot more of them are also getting reinstated. I have one person that I go to with all my suspensions. His name is Nate McAllister. He's become a good friend of mine over the last few months. He helps people write their appeals letters. He does charge for his time, like any qualified business person would or should. I have friends like Chris Green and Karen Verzical who review people's letters and give them pointers. The best way to handle a suspension with Amazon is to see what their complaints are, you know, to respond to their complaints. Don't argue with them saying you didn't do what they accuse you of doing. To show them a plan of action of how you can prevent it from happening again. So, I know plenty of people that got suspended and they said, okay, here are the steps we're taking to make sure this never happens again. And they outline it, unemotional. Don't start crying to them that you have a family. Don't start crying to them that you have bills to pay. Just they're very dispassionate. Just tell them what your plans are to fix the problem and make sure it's never going to happen again. Have an expert look at it, whether it be a paid expert or an unpaid expert. I'd be happy to help anyone that got suspended. Um, and just 95% of the people that have gotten suspended in the last 6 months that have called me have gotten reinstated, and the 5% have tried to circumvent the system and open second accounts, and it got linked to their first accounts. And Amazon has a very low, if not zero, tolerance for that.
So what you're saying is, unless you do something unethical or illegal, that's one thing. But if you just do something dumb and because you're a new seller and you made a mistake, as long as you're, you know, truly want to be a good seller, I guess they'll give you that chance, assuming you approach it. And I've heard that you get one shot, like
It's
Eminem says, you got one shot to present your appeal, and if you don't get that right, you're done.
So it used to be the case. It's not so much the case anymore. Just make sure you never sell anything that's counterfeit. You never sell anything used and misrepresented as new. You have a valid chain of custody for the merchandise. You don't sell anything that was stolen or from Craigslist or from another country that you can't verify the authenticity of it. And you just want to make sure that you do things the right way, because there's no one product that you can sell and make enough money to be worth risking your entire Amazon account.
Would would you do you do any importing of any of your products? Do they come from? Do you source from other countries?
I don't, but most of my products are inevitably made in China. But
But
I buy them domestically.
even your private label products that you're getting into now?
So the private label is going to be made in China. We're going to buy it in China. We're going to be coming out with a high-end electronics line, let's say like Bluetooth speakers. I know everyone's making them, but we can do it a lot better. Um, and it's going to be really high quality. I mean, it's just that's the key is quality control, especially about electronics.
Now Matt's asking of all of your items, what percentage do you usually hold the buy box?
So that varies. It's gone up considerably since we started creating listings on Amazon, obviously. It's probably close to 40%. I know people are a lot higher than me, but that's okay. I don't want to have the buy box on every item because that probably means I'm leaving money on the table. My items are priced competitively with the market and the buy box, and I'm okay with rotating the buy box. I don't want to lower my profit margins to have a bigger share of the buy box.
Let's see. Edmund asked a question here. There's a product BSR ranking 99 and one competitor. I have 9 units listed with FBA and none have sold. What am I doing wrong? Is that something you can ascertain from that information?
So the seller rank is 99 in what category? Or is it a subcategory? I lost the audio, Jake. Can you?
Sorry, I hit mute and then I hit something. I thought I was going to close the webinar. Um, is that an Edmund? Is that an overall BSR ranking or is that a subcategory ranking? Because these like three subcategories deep, 99 may not mean anything if it's 99 overall.
There's so many
So
variables. If you wanted to private message me the ASIN, I could take a look at the landscape, as I like to say. There's so many variables. Is the other seller a major mega seller or Amazon? Do they have the buy box? Are you priced competitively with the buy box? Um, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I can't answer that with such little information. It would be hard to give an accurate answer.
okay, here's what Gurr meant. Here's his rephrase of his question. Earlier, he said that he turns his FBA inventory at a rate of about 8% every 10 weeks. Annualized, that's about 50% total inventory turnover. He makes it sound like he's acquiring new product through the four acquisition methods. he is buying more product than he is selling, or maybe that's the question. Are you buying more product than you're selling?
I think he misunderstood what I said. What I said was initially when we first started, there were velocity limits, and Amazon has a metric when you want to raise the limit of how much you can send to FBA. They look at your inventory turn over the course of, let's say, 8 to 10 weeks, and they expect you to sell between 7 and 10%. I forgot what the number is because it's been 4 years. I know it's between 8 and 10 weeks that they look at it, and I know it's between 7 and 10% that they want you to turn weekly in order to increase your FBA limits of how much you can send to FBA. Um, we make a couple of thousand sales a day. So if you wanted to divide that by the number of units that we have at Amazon, it's probably 0.5% a day. So, we probably have about 200 days of inventory at Amazon, if that answers your question. And there's going to be stuff that sells out. We had items that sold out a couple of hundred pieces the day it hit the FBA warehouse. And then we had stuff that we didn't sell a piece of in 6 months. So there's going to be stuff that turns very quickly. There's going to be stuff that turns very profitably. There's going to be stuff that doesn't sell at all. And there's going to be stuff that doesn't sell at a profit. So there's no set formula.
Okay. Donald wants to know what software systems do you use? You used Apple. You said mention Applegate as a repricer.
Yeah, App Eagle.
App Eagle. Okay.
Right. You're thinking of Christina Applegate. App Eagle, Scan Power, Seller Engine Plus, Inventory Lab, anybody that can help us make money. We've used Channel Advisor, we've used Monsoon, we've used Seller Cloud. We've tried all the software out there.
What about review software? Feedback Genius, Feedback 5,
Never used,
Feedbacks.
never used it. Not a big believer in it. You got to realize the Amazon customer is not a typical customer. The Amazon customer expects you to execute their order flawlessly, and they expect you to ship them what they ordered, and they expect to receive what they ordered. So the Amazon customer is not the eBay customer. They don't go out of their way to leave feedback. I mentioned earlier I probably have about 40,000 feedback. We've made over 1 million sales on Amazon in the 4.5 years. So if you want to extrapolate those numbers, we have 40,000 feedback versus over 1 million sales. You can see it's a very low percentage of people that leave feedback. So for you to engage a company to solicit feedback, I feel like you're asking for trouble, and you're only gonna incite people who want to complain. And that's just my personal philosophy. I know people do Feedback Genius. Amazon feedback is not critical unless you have negative feedback or unless you're a just launched seller and you have no feedback. But if you have a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand feedback and your metrics are good and you're in the 98 to 100%, you're going to get an equal share of the buy box. You're going to get, on the site, and you don't really have to worry about feedback. The only feedback you have to worry about is no feedback or negative feedback.
So what would you do? What would you recommend to a brand new seller who's got one product up, and all these people tend to do these product launches now, they're giving away product for honest reviews, etc. Would you suggest? I mean, back when or let me rephrase the question.
There's two different questions there. One is a private label question.
Right, that's what I was about to rephrase it because it's not an issue with arbitrage. But if I've never sold anything on Amazon and I start out coming out of the gate and all I do is launch my first private label product, am I making a mistake by even doing that?
Well, again, I'm not the private label expert that some other people are. I do know that you can give away the product at a discount, and the reviewer is supposed to acknowledge that they received the product at a discount, and it's a very productive way to generate reviews and move yourself to the first page of the search results and get into Amazon's algorithm. And there's things like super URLs and different tactics you can use to expedite that process. And then the goal is that ideally, once you're there on the first page, you'll make natural, gradual, organic sales. And if you have a quality product and a quality page, you should be able to maintain that position on the first page.
Now, I imagine since you started off as all arbitrage and then eventually going to PL, having launching a brand new PL product now, you've got 40,000 feedback or whatever it is. That kind of is a plus if you're launching a new private label product.
It's a double-edged sword because if I launch it on my existing Amazon account and it is a bomb for whatever reason, or we get a bad batch from China, that could damage the integrity of my entire account. So
So you open a new account.
well, I already have two accounts, and I don't think I'm in a position to ask Amazon for a third account. So we're going to be
Okay.
super careful with quality control and testing, and we're going to ultimately launch it on my main account. But I'm going to be super careful.
Dean says, when pricing, is it wise to price as a medium average amongst other FBA sellers? I know the product will take longer to sell, but you can see bigger returns. Is this a good option?
So
So
it
he's
really depends. It really depends on your unique situation, your cash flow, your capital, your expenses, your overhead, where you're at in life. Are you a hustler? Are you a 21-year-old kid that does retail arbitrage, or are you a 65-year-old man that does online arbitrage? Are you someone who's into arts and crafts and knitting and sewing and those? So it really depends where you are in life and in business. Um, I can tell you what I know about repricing is you never want to be the guy that I was 4 years ago when I first started using a repricer. I priced a penny lower than everyone else. And, people emailed me and said, hey, schmuck, you're pricing a penny lower and my price is set to match you. And then you're going to go a penny lower. And before you know it, you're selling a $15 item. At the end of the day, you're selling that item for $5 and I'm matching you. So you're not making any more sales. You're just making less profit. So that's, it's a race to the bottom, as they call it. We set our software up to match the lowest FBA. The reason we do that is because we have a lot of expenses, a lot of overhead, a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of investors and partners and employees. And, we want to make sure that the dollars keep turning so that we can leverage the economies of scale and negotiate better prices with our suppliers and really do big things with the money. If we have buying power of $500,000 and we go to, let's say, a studio or we go to a company and we say we want to give you a $500,000 order, we need a 10% better price. Well, why are you the money today? We just manage just by having that money. So it's things like that we do. I know a lot of other sellers do something where they'll put it a penny higher than the competition so as not to trigger the race to the bottom. They'll still get their share of the buy box because they're within, let's say, 2 or 3% of the buy box. So as long as all the metrics and everything else is equal, they'll be able to get their share of the buy box without triggering the race to the bottom and destroying their profit margin.
Gary was wanting to know what percentage of your inventory is at your warehouse at any given time.
My warehouse is strictly a staging area to get the goods to Amazon. So if they have to be prepped or polybagged or labeled, that's why the inventory is by me. The other inventory that's by me are mistakes that I've made. And the third kind of inventory that's by me are where we bought so deep on a product, let's say a Harry Potter DVD, we bought 5,000 copies in an effort to get a better price. And it wouldn't make sense to send it all to FBA in one shot, so we'll send 500 at a time. We'll monitor it monthly, and when we get down to 100, we'll send 500 more. So those are the only three types of inventory that I keep by me: are mistakes, large buys where it's backup inventory for stuff that I have at FBA, and we have replenishment alerts set up. And the third is goods that just came in that need to create listings or take pictures or, create variations or stuff that comes in from online and retail arbitrage. It's just a matter of how quickly we get it back out on a truck. Most,
Okay.
most of what we do is LTL, which is less than a truckload. It's pallets. We can send Amazon 50,000 items at a time. We do some UPS ground when we want to get goods out faster and receive faster, because when you do pallets, you have to get a dock appointment, and it takes longer for them to receive it.
LW is asking Sam, have you been invited to Amazon's Vendor Central, and do you advise joining it?
Is Jeff Bezos watching or listening? No. I have been. I used to sell on Vendor Central. I found that for people like me, I'd rather sell on Amazon than to Amazon. I feel like it's more profitable for somebody who's nimble and can adapt and understands the markets and can negotiate pricing and can survey the landscape and make decisions. And selling to Amazon is a tricky proposition. I don't discourage it, but I don't do it anymore because I make more selling on Amazon than to Amazon.
Have you ever been in a situation where you started selling a product and Amazon came in and bought the company or made a deal with the company, and all of a sudden now?
All the time, all the time. So that's it's a love hate relationship that everyone has with Amazon. You start selling a product well, all of a sudden they jump on the listing, and then it becomes a chess game. Do you want to lower the price and try to sell through it, or do you want to wait them out, hope they run out of stock? It's really you got to assess each situation on its own merits, and just try to get a big picture of what's going on and make your decisions accordingly. And sometimes it hurts, and that's why I tell people don't go too deep on any one product unless you're an expert on the category. I still don't go deep on anything other than DVDs or toys, even though we're selling thousands of pairs of shoes and thousands of clothing items and you know pet products and home and baby and all the categories. I'm an expert on DVDs. I'm getting there on toys. And those are things I buy deep on, and I still make a lot of mistakes. So
Odysseus says, what is the name of the guy that you mentioned who can help us out with account suspension?
his name is Nate McAllister, and hopefully you don't need his services.
And if somebody need to contact him, is he on the Facebook groups anywhere? Or is this like a private?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. You should be able to find him. He's pretty active on Facebook. Um, his name is Nate McAllister. If anyone wants to PM me, I'll send you his contact info. Um, but again, suspensions are, you really got to look at the correspondence between Amazon and yourself and the seller and try to get a feel for the tonality of the conversation, because a lot of times you have to read between the lines and say, oh, this person's got no chance of getting reinstated, or this person will easily get reinstated if they do XYZ. So anybody who calls me, I say, send me all the correspondence, send me all the performance notifications, send me anything you've received from seller performance. And I had people tell me, "Oh, I had one account, they shut me down. 2 years later, I opened another account, they shut that down. I went to an internet cafe, they shut that down. I tried from my my granddaughter's dog's account, and they shut that down." I'm just like, give it up. So
Um, yeah, I had a fellow, good friend of mine, James Amazio, who went from 0 to 50,000 a month in private label sales, had 6 or 7 or 8 products on at one time, was constantly putting new products on, phasing some out. He's really fast. And he got his account suspended. And to this day, he says, I don't really know why it's suspended. I came back with my game plan saying this is what I'm going to do, thinking, maybe it was this. He said they never really told me. I finally he had to actually take all his listens off and went totally to scratch before they would
That's
unsuspend him.
that's
And
correct.
he,
Yeah, that's one of the things we I don't handle suspensions per se, but I can guide people on who to speak to that are experts. But yeah, that's definitely part of the. I just had someone who I helped get unsuspended with Nate McAllister, and my guy Jay Friday who works by me. And he was arguing that the things that they said were not were not done correctly were done correctly. I said stop arguing, come up with a plan of action, tell them what you're going to do to correct it. You'll get reinstated. He got reinstated. And now they just told him today that while he's reinstated, they're going to hold 2 weeks worth of gross sales in reserve. And he's like, so what the heck did they reinstate me for? And I said, I got news for you, Michael. I said, I think you did too much business too quickly. And they have to make sure you're not doing fraud, you're not doing money laundering, you're not doing anything, you know.
and be lucky to be reinstated because
That's
you
what I
might be
told him.
out of business.
That's what I told him. Count your blessings that you're reinstated. I even offered to float him some money, just so he gets his disbursement. But
Well, that brings up a different question. Do you get offered loans from Amazon, and if so, have you ever taken advantage of them?
I get loan offers all the time, and I take them all the time. But you gotta make sure that you have a plan for the money. Don't just take the money to take the money. You have to have inventory that you can buy pretty quickly after you take the money and turn it into more money. Otherwise, you'd be foolish to take the money.
Okay, Gar's asking, do you sell any food or nutritional supplements? You're working on that cream, but what about anything else?
So the cream is a topical cream. I kind of stay away from ingestibles. There's been a lot of lawsuits. There's been a lot of FDA issues with GNC, and Amazon recently got sued for somebody who overdosed on caffeine powder and died. And they were going to sue the manufacturer, and then they said, "Well, we should sue Amazon too because they sold it, and the difference between an acceptable dose and a lethal dose was negligible." So they figured Amazon was, the manufacturer will just fold up shop and file bankruptcy. But if you sue Amazon also, you have a much better success rate. So I try to stay away from ingestibles. We have bought some liquidation lots with vitamins, and I've sent them in reluctantly. It's not something I really want to be a part of. There's so many other products where I don't need to sell that. I mean, there's 300 million products in Amazon.com's catalog. So if you can't find products to sell and you can't find products to make money on, you need to look in the mirror. You don't need to blame Amazon or blame, too many sellers or any of the other reasons people like to attribute it.
Mick's got a good question. What is a book you would recommend to read? Doesn't have to be business, but it would probably help if it was.
So I don't know if I should. I guess I can speak about books that I've read for my business. I don't want to
Sure,
promote.
yeah.
Uh,
No,
Chris
no, no.
Chris Green is a very close personal friend of mine. He wrote the book on arbitrage. He wrote the book on online arbitrage. He's got a Udemy course that's unbelievable with 17 hours of videos. Um, John Grillo wrote a book. Robert Bagley wrote a book that I read. Steve Smotherman wrote a book that I read. Charlene Anderson wrote a great book about wholesale sourcing. Probably forgetting half the books that I read. I read books like crazy. I've read every Amazon book, um, whether it was Amazon authorized or not. Um, there's a lot of Amazon books out there. I think there's one called One Click that I read that was very good. Um, there's a lot of e-commerce books, but even more important than the books, there's a lot of courses out there. My course is sold out, so I'm not pitching myself. Um, but there's a lot of mentors, there's a lot of consultants, and believe it or not, The Facebook groups are 100 times better than the Amazon seller forums because they're real people that are in the trenches, going through the same things you're going through. There's my group, Amazon Consulting Experts, which is open to the public. There's Scan Power, there's Scanner Monkey, there's Sourcing Secrets, there's Game Changers. Like I said, I'm a member. We just posted it for our clients. I'm a member of 196 groups on Facebook that pertain to my business. There's John Lawson's e-commerce group. There's so many groups out there, and people are so willing to share for the most part that you can really learn a ton. And I started my consulting business, in May of this year. I announced it. Basically, I was helping people for free for a year on Facebook with no intentions of ever going into consulting. And when I realized how much of my time it was taking, and I realized how rewarding it was to help people change their lives, I formulated this plan in January. And I said, how can I make this work and not affect my existing businesses? And we came up with this formula, and I spoke to people like Chris Green, and he's like, dude, for what you're going to teach them, you should be charging them 20 grand for the year instead of 5 grand. And it's true, we're adding so much value. We're getting them approved in all the categories. We're getting them discounted gift cards. We're getting them deals with software companies. We're doing co-op buying now, where I have a supplier who gets all the overstocks from Nordstrom's. I'm now passing those goods on to my clients, my paying clients, and they're going to make a fortune selling it on Amazon.
So let me ask you this: how long is this course, your own course, you've sold out? Will it come to a point where they graduate and you're going to do another one?
Well,
And when would it be?
out of the 100 people, we actually had about 5 people that either dropped out or need to drop out for health reasons or personal reasons or financial reasons. So we do have about 5 spots open. If people want to join, it's not too
Better
late.
move fast.
The website is AmazonConsultingExperts.com. I didn't come on here to pitch that, but I might as well if I'm
No,
here.
I don't mind that you do that.
Um, so I'm sorry, your question was.
Uh, well, that was a different question. I'm going to go to the next question here. Kristen asked, this came in from the. By the way, guys, when you register for these webinars, there's a survey that on the thank you page. There's a 5-question survey. You can get your question into the guest a little bit quicker, and we answer those questions. And this is one from Kristen. She asked, are you selling on other platforms like Jet? How much of the business is clothes and shoes, and is he doing any PL? We've already answered the PL question.
So Jet is an interesting adversary to Amazon in that the gentleman who founded Jet has sold companies to Amazon after he got, his head handed to him by Amazon. He was the owner of diapers.com, and Amazon got into a pricing war with him where they were lowering the price of diapers, and he knew what they were paying for it from Johnson & Johnson, and they just crushed him on the price till they ended up buying his company. God bless Jeff Bezos, God bless Amazon. I don't think Jet is a worthy adversary yet. They're trying to do a business model. It's not quite Costco and it's not quite Prime. They want to charge $50 a year, and they're giving away free memberships for the first year to anyone with who knows how to use Google can get a free account for a year. And their pricing structure is such that they're going to be the lowest price on the internet. They're going to be buying it from people like me or other retailers, and they're going to be losing. The more money you buy, the more products you buy, the more money they're going to lose.
And they're going to try to ship it from local people, so they're going to try to keep their shipping distance as short as possible.
I hate to keep using a cliche, but it's a recipe for disaster. I don't think they'll be successful. I do think they'll run out of money. If you want to know who the number one adversary would be for Amazon, And you guys aren't going to believe me, but I'll be right in a few years from now. It's Walmart.com. They suck at what they do right now. They can't ship a box for their lives. Nothing comes in undamaged. Nothing comes in unscathed. But they have a new CEO, and he's putting all his eggs into e-commerce. He's hiring
Well,
the top guys in Silicon
I actually made a purchase from Walmart online today. I was sitting in Comcast trying to get my cable fixed, and it was like a 30-minute wait, and I had to go pick up a couple of computer speakers. I said, well, I'm just going to buy them off of Walmart and pick it up in the store. It worked out fine, except when I got there, I had to stand in the service
Yep.
line, and
Yep.
they should have an express line for somebody who's already bought a product. If they get that figured out, that's going to be another interesting way to compete is people buy online and then go pick it up at the store on the way to doing some other errand.
Right. So they have thousands of doors, and they're attempting to ship directly from the stores to the end user. They have a long way to go, but they have very deep pockets. They have very, very smart people in place. They have very tremendous, almost infinite resources when you're doing, $500 billion a year in sales versus Amazon, which is going to probably do $100 billion. So they're 5 times the size of Amazon, and they're hiring the top people in Silicon Valley, and they're hiring the top e-commerce people. They're going to be a worthy adversary, not right now, but in a couple of years from now when they get their act together.
What did you think about Prime Day?
So Prime Day, from a business perspective, was awesome. We tripled our daily sales. I think we did $30,000, a little bit more than $30,000 on our main account. But from a consumer perspective, there was a lot of disappointment, and my mother-in-law said, "What was up with that?" I
It
tried
was a
to.
lot of it was a lot of entertainment for a lot of people. The memes that are out there right now, the video poking fun at them.
Yeah, but you know what? I read an article, a financial article, and they were talking about Amazon, and they said Amazon's daily sales are typically $250 million. And what Amazon did with Prime Day was they proved that they can add $1.25 billion in value just by doing a flash sale. And if they want to do it every quarter, they can do it every quarter. If they want to do it every year, they can do it every year. They did $1.5 billion in sales on Prime Day.
Wow.
And like I said before, a rising tide lifts all boats. So third party sellers benefited as well. We did a lot of sponsored advertising on that day. We repriced the heck out of everything, in anticipation of that day. And what we also did was we went to a lot of other websites like Walmart.com who tried to join in on the party and match Amazon prices that day. And we bought things, even though you can't buy on Prime to resell on Amazon, you can buy on Walmart, who's matching Amazon to resell on Amazon. So we did a ton of online arbitrage that day on places like Best Buy and
Well,
Walmart.com.
that's interesting right there.
Yeah.
All right, this comes from a thank you page survey question. Dustin asks, what would be the biggest tip for scaling business when starting with only a couple $100?
So I saw that question. That's very difficult to answer because a couple of $100, you're not going to be able to scale the business. The only thing I can tell you is buy things with, it's probably a silly answer, but buy things that sell quickly with, decent or good profit margins and reinvest every penny and repeat it a couple of thousand times a year. And hopefully by the end of the year, you'll have, tens of thousands of dollars. Don't take money out of the business. Just keep reinvesting it and beg and borrow, but don't steal. Just get as much money as you can. Sell things that you have around the house. Sell things that you can buy in thrift stores or Goodwill stores, which have crazy margins. They're just not very scalable. Just find a niche. I speak to hundreds of sellers a week, and one guy started his whole business by buying Tylenol when it was off the market. He found a retailer that had Tylenol, and he sold it like crazy. I know I started with DVDs. Everybody told me don't sell DVDs. It's a dying industry, and there's so much. Everyone was running away from DVDs. I was running towards DVDs. I know people that made their whole business on one ASIN or one SKU. a one product line, and then they expanded from there.
All right. Stacy's asking, what is your new PL product launching process? Do you use review services like Zonblast or do anything like that?
So we're gonna consult with our friend Andy Slamans. I think the process is going to be to give away, thousands of jars of the item. I don't know if it's going to be free or at an 80 or 90% discount. Um, in exchange for honest reviews. We're going to do a lot of advertising on and off Amazon. We're going to have hopefully a celebrity spokesperson endorsing it. We're going to have film a commercial that hopefully will be funny enough to go viral on the internet. The ad company that we're working with, he showed us an ad for something called Poopery, which is something that you spray when you go to the bathroom so it doesn't smell. And if you watch the video, it's a British lady using the bathroom, and it's
I've
hilarious.
seen her in the blue dress.
Yes, and it's very funny, and it went viral, and it took the product to a new level. It's one of the best selling items on Amazon right now, and it's hazmat. So unless you're approved for hazmat, you can't sell at FBA.
Edmund came back to us. He's the one that asked about the product that had a BSR rating of 99. It's in the patio and lawn, and he had one competitor, and he says he can't figure out why he's not selling something.
Is the competitor Amazon?
Yeah, what's the I'm going to invite you on as a speaker, Edmund. If you logged in as on a Gmail address, yeah, I just sent you an invite. You can come in the room like Sam did. Maybe we can debrief you. In the meantime, while I'm waiting on him, Jeff asked, what steps did you take to build your business? Was it an immediate home run product, or was it a bunch of incremental bunch of singles?
So that's a great question. We hit a lot of singles, which allowed us to take more risks, which allowed us to hit a lot of doubles, triples, home runs, and grand slams. We really got to become experts at DVDs. We knew which products were discontinued, no longer in production, and that's a tremendous way to make money on Amazon. If you buy discontinued or out of production product or limited edition or collector's edition or brand new to the market and exclusive to a certain retailer or e-tailer, anything other than mainstream product that anybody can get and is low hanging fruit. That's where we make our most money. So while we have a direct account with the toy companies like Mattel and Hasbro, the places we make the best money are on discontinued toys. So we had a product called Mundo, which we bought at a Walmart, and it was a discontinued product. It's similar to Play-Doh, but their claim to fame was it never dries out. We were selling them for $20, then $30, $40, $50. We kept raising the price because we were the only ones that had them. We ended up selling for as high as $69 last Q4. We didn't get one complaint and we didn't get one return on the pricing. So, if you could find discontinued products, you could find products that are regional, products that are gourmet, products that are limited edition. We had one guy, he was selling Minions Tic Tacs, and he sold thousands of them because they're limited edition. We have Star Wars merchandise that we sell like crazy, because we're the only seller on it. There's so much opportunity. We know one guy, he does pet beds. That's all he does. We know one guy, he does, car seats. Or that's all he does. And these guys sell, $500,000 worth of that one product or product line with very healthy margins.
Leah's asking, what is the basic knowledge you need to start this kind of business? And I've got a little mini emergency here, so I'm going to let you talk, and I'll be right back.
Sure, no problem. So you need need basic business skills. You need to understand buying and selling and reselling for a profit, and Amazon fees, and basic mathematic and logical skills and psychological skills. And you really need to understand the Amazon consumer is not necessarily always price driven. A lot of it is convenience. A lot of it is, time is worth more than a few dollars that I could save by going elsewhere, or I know what I'm dealing with when I buy at Amazon, as opposed to Walmart or someone else. A lot of people shop in Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's and Saks and Lord and Taylor and Barney's, and they could find clothing a lot less expensive at places like TJ Maxx and Marshalls and discount retailers. But there's a reason they go to those stores, and a lot of it has to do with the return policy, like Amazon. A lot of it has to do with the service, like Amazon. A lot of it has to do with the convenience and the way things are laid out, like Amazon. And a lot of it has to do with credibility, like Amazon. I speak to people that are mid to high income, and everything they do is on Amazon, and they've never bought a thing in their lives on eBay because they don't trust the system. Not to bash eBay, but it's not Amazon. The payment system is different, and the sellers are different, and the buyers are different, and it's a whole different ballgame. So you got to have basic business skills. You got to understand mathematics and logic and psychology and consumer behavior, and you got to understand the fees, and you got to understand some technical stuff about how to list stuff and how to process stuff. But it's not rocket science. It's really not. If I figured it out, anyone could figure it out. Anyone else have any questions while Terry's gone? Uh, Feel free to. I don't know if I can see your chat. Oh, he's back. Can't hear a word he's saying. He probably muted himself, but he's back.
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm back. Sorry about that. All right. Ken is asking, what is the best way to do shipping from other countries after you already have samples and you're ready to start ordering in a large amount? Can you answer that, or is that something you defer on to Andy on?
So if I understand the question correctly, no, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question. Depending on the size of the shipment, you either want to do something like DHL International Air, or you want to bring it over via container on a boat. Now, obviously, air is going to be a lot more expensive, and it's also going to be a lot faster. Boats also going to be more complicated because then you have to deal with customs brokers and freight forwarders and all those other fun things that we all love to deal with. But it'll also be a much slower and a much cheaper process by ship. If that was the question, then that's my answer.
Yeah, I would think that if you're ordering it for the first time and it's a lightweight product, you might want to go air with a lower number um, of items, and then once you get them listed, you're watching your sell-through rate, and if it's going pretty quick, you might want to do it again that way until you get to the point where you can order enough that you can wait for it to come by sea and that you don't run out of product while you're waiting on it, and then you've got a much better, a bigger number of products, and you can get a better rate on your shipping. So looks like I'm coming up to might be our last question here. Uh, Oh, Edmund. Oh, well, this was the patio and lawn question. You never did, Evan. You never did accept my offer to come on to the.
Let him, Jake. Let him PM me the ASIN, and I could do a complete analysis because it's very hard to make an assessment without having all the facts in front of me.
What would be the best Facebook group to PM you from, or I guess not a Facebook group, but he need to find you. If he's not your friend, he may have to go through a group to PM you.
You can't miss me on Facebook. My group is Amazon Consulting Experts.
Oh, okay. You've got your own.
Yeah, we got about 3,500 members in about a month or two. So we'll share a lot of information in there. I lost you, Jake.
It's about a little over 2 hours. We usually, it's hard to keep this thing below 2 hours because we just drill down into the questions. And once we get your story and we get the questions, uh, let's see. Here's one from LV wants to know, Sam, what's the tool do you use for inventory management for a large amount of SKUs?
So we use Inventory Lab right now. We use Inventory Health, which is an Amazon report that you get for free. It's under reports, fulfillment, inventory health. That'll give you a good snapshot of what you have at Amazon FBA, how long it's been there, how many weeks of cover you have, how many you've sold in the last 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 100, all the way up to 365 days. It'll show you what you're being charged for storage fees. It'll show you how many are going to be put into long-term storage fees. It'll really give you a good snapshot of your inventory. It's exactly what it says inventory health. What is the health of your inventory? And from there, you can make determinations of your next course of action. Do you want to lower the price? Do you want to raise the price? If I see something is selling very quickly, I'll raise the price because I know, it's not being priced correctly. Um, and it's like playing, it's like playing a chess game or a poker game. You really have to, figure things out, and that's how you make money.
Okay, Mick says, will you be going to ASD in Vegas this year? Is that
Uh,
the
I am not going because I don't love to travel and leave my family and my wife and my kids and my businesses. And now I have my ACE clients that I'm bound to and loyal to. So I will not go this year. I've been to ASD many, many times, both in March and in August. I was there a couple of years ago in August, and I made the mistake of renting a convertible, and it was too hot to put the top down. So what we did for our group was we compiled a list of all the exhibitors that are going to be at ASD. We've put it into an Excel spreadsheet. We had our VAs do this. We've hyperlinked every one of their websites, got every one of their contact phone numbers, email addresses, and our clients can go through that list without having to spend a couple of $1,000s and a couple of days out of their life and going to Vegas in August and walking around a convention center, and after a couple of hours all the goods look the same.
what is ASD, Sam? Anyway, I was thinking of something else.
ASD is a closeout and liquidation show that takes place in Las Vegas, both in March and in August. It's coming up, I believe, August 2nd. Starts Sunday, I believe. I have a lot of friends and family that exhibit there. They're manufacturers or they're closeout guys. It's a good show for picking up contacts and finding closeouts and liquidation guys. But nowadays, with the power of the internet, I don't know if it's not the best use of my time. And I know a lot of my clients are going, and it's good for them to go and get the trade show experience. I know I can send emails to 1,000 exhibitors and have a ton of success, just from the comfort of my office chair.
Silva's asking this: what is the minimum profit per item after Amazon fees you suggest uh, to go with shipping and other expenses and still have a profit overall?
So my answer to that is my answer to every question. That depends. It depends on the sales rank. It depends on the sales velocity. It depends on your capital. It depends on your cash flow. It depends on your monthly business expenses. It depends on your monthly personal expenses. It depends on, is it a branded product? Is it a licensed product? Is it a hot product? Is it a new product? Is it an old product? Is it a discontinued product? There's so many variables. Does Amazon sell the product? Does Amazon not sell the product? Is it something you can replenish? Is it not something you can replenish? All those things factor in, and you really have to learn how to do I'm not going to say mathematical calculations, but you have to get a sense of what you're doing. So there's certain items I sell all day, every day. I make 20%, but I sell thousands of them. And then there's items where I make 2,000%, but I don't sell too many of them. So there's really no set answer.
But on a low end scale, if Amazon's going to take $4 or whatever that fixed cost is, and you sell something for $5 and it costs you $2, you're going to lose money. I mean, there is a minimum
Oh,
that
of
you have to
course.
cover your fixed cost and the Amazon costs and your shipping fees,
So,
and then you need to add a little bit of margin to it. I mean, if you can't do it for that, you might not want to be selling that product unless it's a
so
loss leader for some other item.
right. So to go back to that example, everyone always says don't sell anything FBA less than $15 because you won't make money. I can tell you, and guys like Sean Mayo and guys who do a lot of low average selling price items, you're 100% wrong because we sell thousands of DVDs, hundreds of thousands. We buy them for $2, we sell them for $10. Amazon takes $4, and we make $4, and we triple our money. So to make $4 doesn't sound exciting, but if you do it 1,000 times a day, it starts to look a whole lot better. And that's what we do with DVDs and CDs. We still sell tons of CDs on Amazon. I know people find that hard to believe, but that's the
Is
real.
that $2? Is that $2 ship include your shipping costs as well for those DVDs, or?
Yeah, yeah. The DVDs, the way we do it, we do 10, 20, 50,000 at a time. We do it on pallets. It costs us less than a penny a piece to ship them into Amazon.
Okay, so that's an example, but still, it's about whether you make a margin. If you can make a margin on a product, then don't worry about it. Do it. If you trade in $1 and you get $2, like you said, get busy.
Right. And there's so many products like that. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows the story with the red velvet Oreos that people were buying and selling. You can buy those at retail for $3, sell them on Amazon for $13. Amazon will take $4 or $5 in fees if my math is correct, and you'll make a very healthy profit margin. If
Why
you
do you
can make.
suppose people will pay so much for things on Amazon when you can go down to Target or Walmart and get it for much less?
So I explained that earlier when you stepped away for your emergency. There's plenty of people that want to deal with Amazon. They don't want to deal with eBay. They don't want to deal with Walmart. They don't want to deal with their local store. They're paying for the convenience. They're paying for the way things are laid out. They're paying for the return policy. They're paying for the customer service. They're paying. Why do people shop in Macy's and Lord and Taylor and Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's and Saks and Barney's when they could shop at TJ Maxx and Marshalls and thrift stores
Okay.
and BJ's
Point.
and
Well made point.
I mean, I did it. I did something with NPR radio that I got crucified for because I took them to Toys R Us to show them how we do retail arbitrage, and people said, I'm giving away all their business and trade secrets. But we bought something. It was a Little Tyke sandbox, and the guy who I was with was a young guy with a wife and children, lived in Brooklyn, didn't have a car. He was the interviewer from NPR. And I said, imagine if you wanted to buy this for your kids and your wife doesn't have a car and you have two little kids at home and they want this Little Tyke sandbox. Your wife's going to have to call a car service or a cab, take it to Toys R Us, strap it to the roof of the cab, take a cab home, bring the kids in tow, and imagine if you're a grandparent that wants to buy your grandchild a gift and you live in New York and your grandchild lives in California. You're going to get in the car, drive to the mall, drive to Toys R Us, pay for the item, schlep it home, then go to the post office, try to find a box for it, pay the postage, and hope that it gets there in one piece. When you could just go on Amazon and send it as a gift with a beautiful gift wrapping and a beautiful note attached to it, you'd be crazy not to shop on Amazon. I have,
True.
I haven't walked into a store in 4.5 years for myself. We buy everything on Amazon. We buy big.
Oh, I love Amazon Prime, 2 day free shipping and all that. Some of it, and sometimes now they're moving towards 1 day shipping. Kay says this: I have an item that only makes $1 profit once I sent to FBA, but it sells daily and exposes my brand to new customers who may eventually migrate to my site. So it's still worth it for brand exposure. Just depends on your objectives.
All day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
And then we got let's see, LV. Well, I just where did it go? LV wants to know: do you sell on multiple Amazon countries, UK, Canada, EU, etc.?
So the answer is yes and no. We do sell on other platforms: Canada, Mexico, Japan, and UK. We don't do a large volume yet. It's not the best use of our time right now. But we do want to be properly set up and positioned for when those markets expand to capitalize and profit from it. If you're asking me what the next best market is after Amazon.com, it's unequivocally Amazon UK. It's a pain to get set up, but I speak to people that are doing $50 million on Amazon, and I say, "What's the difference between you and me?" They tell me Amazon UK. So
Well, I also have heard that if you can, once you get on Amazon UK, that opens you up to four other countries or three other countries: Spain, Italy, and Germany. And I've heard Germany's even stronger than the UK. I just don't know about VAT and collecting VAT
right,
tax. And
nobody understands it.
I understand 20% VAT tax because I lived in England for about 3 years and I know it well. I just don't understand the legalities of it.
The European Union, they'll ship, from one FBA to all those other countries. I met a guy at Scam Power Conference, Steve Sawyer. He's an expert on international Amazon International. Um, so we're engaging his services. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to pay for help. You want to learn how to do something, find
Well, I
someone who do it.
well I belong to Marketplace Superheroes, which they charge about $1,000, and they charge you over. You can buy it over 9 months, I think it is. But these are two guys from Ireland, and they really do understand the UK, the EU market, and how to navigate through all of the red tape. Dylan said, and by the way, y'all can go back and watch that episode as well. It's in the archives. Dylan says, "Have you ever purchased private label products from China and have them directly ship your inventory into FBA? Of course, this is based on some good relationship, but what do you look out for if you've done this? First of all, have you done that? Probably not, I'm betting.
So I wouldn't do that because every batch you get from China can have different quality control measures, and I wouldn't risk my Amazon account. I've spoken to people about doing that, where they ship directly from China to FBA. I wouldn't recommend it. The risk far outweighs the reward. And anytime you're investing money, you got to look at the upside versus the downside. If the downside is higher than the upside, don't do the deal. If the upside is higher than the downside, you do the deal. Obviously everything is relative, but that's the basic concept.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up here. You guys can put your thank yous in the chat box, but what would your parting thoughts be? What is there any question I should have asked that I didn't ask, or is there something you think you should tell us? Can tell us going our separate ways here to kind of summarize or sum up. I want to thank you, number one, Sam, for staying up so late. You're over there tuckered out, is what somebody said in the chat room. Sam looks tuckered out,
I
and
get up. I get up with my kids at 5 in the morning.
oh
So
my goodness, and it's 11:30 your time right now. So, any
yeah,
parting thoughts before we wrap this puppy up?
just do the work. Work hard. Feed the beast. Learn the rules. Learn the fees. Learn the market. Learn a specific niche. Keep reinvesting your money. Don't pull the money out of the business until you absolutely have to, and just read, read, read. You got to learn.
With that, Sam, I want to thank Sam E. Cohen, the $10 million man going into 2015. Does a whole wide variety of businesses in one. It sounds like to me. I appreciate you coming on board and spilling your guts with us and giving us your information. When you open, assuming your 5 spots get sold out pretty quick, if you will you do a second class eventually, and if so, when about when would that take place?
So year two is going to be in July 2016. We may actually raise the price to 10,000
Wow.
um, because the value is definitely there, and we want to make sure it's
When
we're
you
getting.
say we, do you have is Andy working with you on this as well? Is he your
Well, I have about 25 employees right now, a lot of which are exclusively working for ACE, which is the acronym for Amazon Consulting Experts. Um, And then in addition to me and my staff of coaches, we have a bunch of people that you all know from the Facebook groups have been invited in as contributing experts. So people like Chris Green, Andy Slamans, Jay Bain, Karen Berzigo. I can never say her name right, but I love her dearly. KIB. Dennis Smith. We have Charlene Anderson. We have Rob Anderson. We have Quincy Lynn. We have like all these different people from all the different Facebook groups. They're contributing experts. They're adding value. They're answering questions. They're
are they doing this? Are they doing this as kind of not non compensated, just volunteering their time, or are you
I haven't paid a single person a single penny. I haven't paid a single penny in affiliate fees. I know a lot of these internet marketers that I spoke to try to get the word out. They wanted a 40% commission. I know Amazing Selling Machine that charges 4 grand. They give 2,000 of it goes to a referral fee.
they raised it to 5,000 this year, Sam, and it's 50%.
That's not my customer. That's not my customer. We add value. That's what we do. We add value. We give discounts. We give things away free. We hire VAs. We hire coaches. We have co-op buying. The co-op buying alone, you can make back. You can make over 100 grand. We have discount gift cards. We negotiate where we get 25% off at TJ Maxx and Marshall. So if you're doing retail arbitrage, you have a built-in. We have one guy. He spends 200 grand at TJ Maxx and Marshall retail arbitrage, and he was always reluctant to buy these discount gift cards because he had a bad experience. I said, listen, I got your back. Any problem with any of the cards, you got 45 days, you get a full refund. He goes, that one deal alone, you made me an extra 50 grand this year because he's getting
Wow.
25 on his 200 grand that he's spending anyway at TJ and Marshalls. So it's things like that we do. We have one guy, I'll give him a shout out because he's one of my rock stars, Abus. He went from 30,000 in May in April to 60,000 in May to 120,000 in June, and he did more than that in July. In just retail arbitrage, I post things in the group that we know
Wow.
about, and he goes out to the stores at 2 in the morning and he clears the shelves. This guy's a straight out hustler. He's a young guy, and then we have old guys. Like Chris Stevenson, who tells me he's an old man. He does online arbitrage. We have Kurt Reynolds. He does online arbitrage. He's doing $1,000 a day. He just started 3 months ago. We have a guy, Eric Freud. He just started. The guy's doing tons of business. We have so many people in our group that are just incredible people, and I'm happy to help them, and I'm happy to help them better their lives and change their lives, and go from part time to full time, and you know, live the dream. Maybe it's not my dream of doing $100 million, but it's their dream. Is having a better lifestyle, having a better quality of life, spending more time with their loved ones. That's why I do what I do. I want to spend more time with my wife and my kids. So if I have to work harder now so that I can in 2, 3 years from now, I'm going to do that.
Pay the price, man, and live the dream. Sam, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for being on. Hey, guys,
My pleasure,
a
Jake.
replay will be going out automatically if you missed part of this. We had over 329. I had 329 people registered for this, Sam. Most of them get it on the replay, so you're going to get a lot of feedback.
That's
Otherwise,
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure. If anyone needs me, you can reach out to me on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it, brother. See you later.
You got it.